Hey, deserving listeners, Love is Blind. Let's check it out.
That's unfair to me. Then I was like, okay, cool. I'm going to let you have a good night, and I'm going to have a good night. You know you make me upset. You know you don't apologize. You know you're not accountable. And then you want to say, KB, I love you. KB, I need you. It's so manipulative, and I don't care how you see it. So me, got teary-eyed.
Manipulative, that attack. So he's absorbing all this, right? You never let me talk. You never let me have feelings. You're manipulative. You don't care. You don't try. I asked you for help. You didn't do anything. And then you ask me to be nice to you. So all of that hostility, all that black and white, all of that attack, how is he going to respond when he's allowed to talk? What's he supposed to say? It would take a lot for him to be functional and constructive after this series of attack.
Which I rarely fucking do. Had to go to the bathroom and I had a moment. And then as soon as I walk out, you walk by talking about let's talk. Fuck no. Apologize. Let me know what you're sorry for. Be accountable. Let me know how you're gonna fix it. But no. KB, I love you. KB, I need you. KB.
Wow. There's that mocking. We saw that on camera at the party. She did it in front of others. Mocking. Mocking. Love. Mocking. Ick. Now, I want to remind everyone, no one should be bullying her. No one should be going in her comment section. Now, you could argue I'm putting this video out there and that's much more noticeable than a comment or a DM, right? But I try when I talk to say it in a way, I'm always thinking if the person saw me saying what I'm saying, would I be okay with it? And yeah, and there are times when I edit stuff out, when I'm like, oh, although I don't think I'm wrong, I don't think that they would. Now, there's a line though, because do I think that like with Steven from a couple seasons ago who cheated on Monica, right, during the show and then was denying it later on, even though, well, anyway, so there's all that. And I didn't pull any punches. Do I think that Steven would be okay with what I was saying? Probably not. But I also, well, I don't know. As I talk out loud, I don't know if I have a clear justification. I just want us all, including myself, to not contribute to any sort of mob attack or ruining of anyone's life. As I've been saying, and maybe this is part of the whole thing along the justification, is that everything that KB is doing, I have done. So it is not strange. It's human, all of it. And I guarantee you, you've done it too. Mother Teresa, although I heard she was a monster behind the scenes. Anyway, the nicest person on the planet has done it too. Everyone does this. So it's not a crime. It's not unusual. It is the norm. It's universal. It doesn't make it helpful or constructive. So is that. So I just want to remind everyone that, I'm sort of on this negative train, and I just want to remind everyone that we don't go after people. We spread love. We spread support. We create a culture of non-toxicity and non-mob bullying, and we contribute in that way to the online discussion. And we might even suggest on certain forums that we should be tentative and be careful about the way we talk about people. And even as you're giving that feedback to someone else, have care for them too. Like, I don't like the way they're talking about KB. That's not okay. And then think about that person as a human being. We're all human beings.
Let me know how you're gonna fix it. But no. KB, I love you. KB, I need you. KB. No, Edmond, stop that shit, please. Stop. Because in that moment, that's not what I want to hear. And that's not an apology. I don't take that as an apology.
Okay, but I do apologize for...
Or what?
Ick. Okay, yeah, he's about to talk and she's gonna let him talk. But yeah, I thought he would just be like, I'm done. Or he would meet her on the field of battle. But he starts off in the edit anyway, and it looks legit like that's what happened, is that he immediately apologizes. And good for him. He's being constructive.
But I do apologize for
Or what?
I walked away. I should have stayed. I'm apologizing for not staying. I should have stayed and just listened.
Okay, so he's apologizing for walking away at the party, I think, because she walked away, he approached, and the conflict was getting worse. He walked away. I think that's what he's apologizing for. I don't think this is going to go over well with her. She could easily say, okay, well, he's apologizing for one part of it. Let's keep going down the road. Maybe I could apologize for something. But I think what's going to happen is she's like going to say, well, that's not even really the main issue. You're not even listening to me or something like that. I don't know. We'll give her the benefit of the doubt. Let's see what happens.
But instead, I just like got overwhelmed and didn't want to hear it. But I should have stayed, and I do apologize for not staying. Like, I apologize for walking away. I apologize for making the comment about Annie and Nick being perfect. And
No, that's not the comment that.
So he's apologizing for that bit, and she's doing this, and then immediately jumps down his throat. Like, what could you hear that would help, or that you would say thank you or something? What is she? Why does she have a problem with it? And the demeanor and his tone of voice, it's so non-hostile, right? Ugh.
Yeah, because why did you feel like that was an appropriate place to say that, considering no one knows about our argument or how you made me feel? How about you apologize for what you did? Do you get that?
I do get that.
Apologize.
I've been apologizing to you.
No.
Okay, is it possible that what she's asking for, that main apology of criticizing me for not being nice to you, is it possible that, so I'm going to take a guess, it's a leap, but that she had some shame or guilt or something about the way she had been treating him that day. She started out the story talking about all the stresses she was experiencing that had nothing to do with him. And I think that says something, that she was trying to tell herself a justification for the way she treated him. And then she just said an interesting phrase of just like, you're gonna say I'm not nice, and they didn't even, no one at the party even knew the way I was treating you earlier. So that says something, I think, that in the moment she was trying to hide, maybe even that she felt bad and doesn't know how to process it or something, and is in that moment when he says that, it feels like he's pulling the curtains back and she's this horrible, vulnerable person on display, when that isn't the way it looked, you know? I mean, it could be argued at least it was a little bit of that, but not as far as she was taking it, you know, given what she's saying now. You're going to say that, and they didn't know the way I was treating you earlier, and you're going to say that and okay, should he apologized for that directly? You know, I think it in the series of all the apologies that should be going both directions, yeah, I think he should apologize for saying, giving the message that she's not, or at least as nice as Annie is, or something like that, or that she, whatever, you know, that. Sure, should that be justification for everything that she did? No. Should he be the only one apologizing? No. So, okay, on paper, what she is asking for, but in the midst of everything, and he's trying, and he's apologizing, and he's not telling his story, and he hasn't refuted anything. He's not doing anything that other people will do in the situation. Okay, am I finally able to talk? Am I allowed to talk now? Okay, well, first off, secondly, you know, like, I thought that was going to happen, or he was going to walk out. But he immediately, in a very nice voice, I'm sorry, I do apologize. And he's trying, and I imagine he's kind of panicking right now. He feels belittled. And sure, he doesn't apologize for, you know, one of the things that she wants a clear apology for, and maybe there's some legitimacy to that, but then she jumps down his throat, shuts him down, interrupts him.
Get that.
I do get that.
Apologize.
I've been apologizing to you.
No.
Okay.
I'm happy it's funny to you.
Yikes. Yeah. So a while back, I was talking about you don't want to say things that are debatable. And she's like, I want you to apologize. Then he says, I have been apologizing. And she says, no. And so for him to, and then kind of laugh like this is absurd is understandable because he's literally been apologizing. Now, if he hasn't been apologizing for what you want, okay, but to just say flat out, you haven't been apologizing. Now, she would argue, you're saying the words, but you don't really mean it. Well, then, have a conversation about that, but don't say it with certainty because you don't know. It feels like it lacks sincerity or something like that, but you don't know. It's debatable. So she's just shutting it down, interrupting, telling him how it is, and he's trying hard, and it's, I don't know. At the very least, I would think that they need to table this, go to therapy, or take a break or something. I don't know.
Because it's so serious. It's like the laughing and all that is what like gets me going.
I do apologize, and I really do love you. That sure is not nothing to joke around with, but...
Upsetting. So he laughs because it's absurd. Now, I don't recommend you do that. It's similar to rolling your eyes or being sarcastic. You're just like, oh my God, what's happening? It's a form of mockery. It's a form of, a ridicule, essentially. If you can help it, I wouldn't. I understand him doing it. And on all the transgressions that are happening, all the non-constructive communication that's happening, okay, we'll put one tick in the Edmond column. But for him, okay, he's apologized for that. Good. Okay, let's have some reciprocity. And he's framing it like, okay, I am making a joke. You weren't making a joke. She said you weren't apologizing in the midst of you apologizing, and so you laughed, which, isn't helpful, but you weren't. So, okay. Let's just move forward.
When you just talk about everything that I'm like doing wrong and not saying not one nice thing, say something nice. You can say something nice and then backhand me, but say something nice. Or just say something nice though, really.
That's heartbreaking. Yeah, is there something youthful about the way he is talking right now? Yeah, but it's not dysfunctional. It's not immature. It's raw. It's vulnerable. It's universal. We all want our partner to be nice to us sometimes. Is there something happening, some trauma that is being displaced or is enacted right now? Maybe. But he just has an interesting way of talking. And I know from the survey that I put out there on YouTube that there were people that were commenting that he's immature, he's manipulative even with his emotions. And maybe, but I don't see any evidence of that. And I have said that there's a problem when we have an emotional black man and just because he's having emotions. And the survey I sent out after episode 6. So most of the emotions we saw from him were exuberance and happiness and excited, and he was crying when Brendan got dumped. Like, those are manipulative anyway. So, might he be a problem? Might he be manipulative? Might he be a problem? Next episode, yeah, maybe. But in terms of what we're seeing, I wish, imagine if she were to be halfway like this. I'm just like, I just wish that when I called you yesterday, you would have tried to help me. I wish you, sometimes when I'm asking for help and I'm stressed out, I just wish that you cared, or I wish that you put effort or something. Imagine if she worded it the way he is. Even if he was like, well, that's not my memory, but it would be much more constructive and more core, more vulnerable, more real, more honest, more courageous, less defended. And so, I don't know, I just feel defensive. I don't know how people say it. I guess it affected me that I saw people saying that he's manipulative with his emotions. Maybe he is, but it's like when we have health and emotion and then we criticize it, you know what I mean? We want men to be emotional and vulnerable and open and not bottled up and expressive and free. And then when they are, they're manipulative. So, you know, I don't know if I'm shadowboxing, but anyway, so he's saying, so I say all that because the way he's wording it, sort of the demeanor, people could just dismiss as like, he's just a child, you know, he's a damaged foster kid, which I think a lot of people think. Was he affected? So another thing that my contact on the show said is that it was left out of the edit, but there's a lot more detail that he talked about what he went through growing up. It was recorded because everything's recorded in the pods, and my contact on the show saw a lot of that footage and was like, whoa, but then it wasn't included in the edit. Now, we don't know if he said, I don't want that in the edit, or the producer said, we don't want to throw anyone under the bus. You know, there's enough detail there that people get the gist of the story. So they didn't include it, so we'll respect that. But I even said, when we first heard of his history, that typically it is indicative of the following. And so I speculated, and it's almost always the case, given what we had learned about him. You know, I think I said, given that his parents aren't dead, because if his parents had died in a car accident and there weren't any relatives around to take care of him, then he goes into foster care. That's a totally different scenario, right? But usually when we hear about a kid, especially foster care, jumping around, it's typically, it carries with it a very, very typical story that I worked with, you know, many, many times. It's not, you know, every story is unique, but there are certain themes that are almost constant. And from my understanding, a lot of those things were happening. So, yeah, but we don't know the recovery he's been through. He talked about having people in his life that saved his life. He said those protective factors are there regardless, or he's just resilient. There's a thing called resilience that we study in humans. And so, you know, it could be a strength. He could be like, hey, I understand how important it is to be vulnerable and real. And if that means I'm seen as not manly or weak or childish, then so be it. I don't care what people think. I'm going to be me, and I don't care what other people think of that, because I'm going to allow myself to be healthy and emotional and human. And I see a lot of that anyway. But the way he phrases it is interesting. You know, it's just like, I want you to be nice. So it could be seen as childish, and I don't know. She seems to be warming up, so maybe this is going to work.
Just say something nice. I need you to do that, like, cause like you forgetting why you fell in love with me.
So we don't know what was left out of the edit, but you would think she would say something nice or go to him or something. He did apologize. You know, maybe you didn't get everything you wanted out of the conversation, but maybe that's in the future. And you just attacked him and berated him for I don't even know how long, and all he said was, I'm sorry, and I just want you to be nice, and I'm sad.
I never said I forgot.
It's so hard.
So I don't know if you caught that, but he says, it's almost like you forgot that you fell in love with me. And she says, amongst all that, the crying, I want you to be nice, I'm sorry, she argues with it. I never said that. Now, I want to be clear, there's a possibility that a while back, whether she knows it or not, she didn't really want to be with him, and she's sort of stuck with him. And it was incompatible from the jump, in that he's not the, I don't know the word for it, but the sort of manly man or something. You know, when they had that conversation at the getaway, you know, maybe that and a number of other things, she's just like, oh, this is going wrong. This isn't going to work. And either she knows it consciously or not. And it's just frustrating to be kind of stuck with someone that you're just not into, you know. It doesn't justify anything, but because I'm trying to understand why amongst all of this, that as he responds to her and is being vulnerable, that she doesn't have any warmth towards him at all. Because if we remember why she's upset, she's upset because yesterday she asked him to run some errands, and I'm not even sure if he didn't do it, but he didn't do it enough. Maybe he didn't do it at all. I don't know. She said that he had an appointment, so maybe and maybe he dropped the ball on that. But then when they were going to the thing, he's trying. She said there was no beef. They're being nice. He was trying to hold her hand walking in, and she's like, "No, I'm not going to hold your hand." And then we saw what we saw, and so he didn't cheat on her. He didn't leave her in the middle of the desert and she had to crawl her way back to civilization. Whatever he did in terms of the way she described it, it's not like negating empathy and care about the person that you love, Now, why would that be? Well, I'm guessing she has a history of this sort of thing happening. People that have wronged her. So, we can use this as a jumping off point. If I saw this in my office, I would hypothesize and then want to assess for this that she has a history of being mistreated and no one acknowledging it. It could even be a parent, through divorce, and one of the parents moves out of the state, or the parent makes promises and doesn't show up, or something. A cheating partner in the past who continues to lie about it, whatever, or a whole series, all the above or none of the above, something like that. And she is coming from that place of deficit, and when there is anything resembling that with him, all of that trauma comes up, and all that energy comes up, and all that certainty comes up. I am being wronged, and no one will take accountability, and I am not going to accommodate. I'm not going to be warm. I'm not going to be nice. Why would I be nice to that? I have been nice my whole life, and I always get the short end of the stick. But it doesn't apply to this situation.
Testing us to see how strong we are together, but I'm still stuck on you. You're still all I want. Get in our crib, have a kid still. I'm still all locked in on you, but I still do love you. I still want to do this with you.
Well, yeah. So I'll add that there's a possibility that he's seen much worse in terms of hostility and being criticized, and has learned, well, it's just better if you just let it roll off your back, because that's certainly the way it looks, right?
I mean, if I didn't want to do this, I wouldn't be here. So I stay because I know I love you. I stay because I know there was a reason why I chose to say yes to you. I stay because I see.
Okay, so she's turned a corner. I'll add that there's a possibility that he completely dropped the ball the previous day, completely was irresponsible, or was literally just ignoring her stress or her request or whatever, and is just like acting like it's not a big deal. We don't know. He never defended himself. He never gave his side of the story. I'm guessing that there's another side of the story, and maybe he's not saying it because he knows that he was wrong or something, so we don't know.
And also the things that you brought to my attention, period.
I would like to see that. I appreciate you saying that you'll be accountable now. And I shouldn't have allowed myself to get as elevated or as heightened.
Okay. So, in the course of a conversation, eventually things get there and things are there, kind of, So on the scale of things, it's going a lot better than I thought it would.
I got big manifestations.
You're only about to get better, so I'm just lucky, and...
But vice versa, boo. The same way you talk about me, I need you to know that's you too, though. That's definitely you.
We can do it.
Okay, so that's nice that she's sort of reciprocating. He's like, vice versa. You should know that the way you talk about me, I feel that way about you. So it's nice, But imagine if you said all these great things and I love you, you're the best, and I just, you're just so great, and I want to spend the rest of my life with you, and then your partner says, oh yeah, vice versa, ditto. People don't do that for no reason. They're either upset, they're unsure, they're worried, they're hurt, they're defended,
We will, really. I know we will.
Now, I will throw out there that there's a lot of ways to skin a cat. That's a horrible idiom, but there are a lot of ways to have a happy life and happy marriage. And sometimes from the outside, when we look at it, it can look not great, but it depends on how people experience it. And there's evidence that he doesn't take it personally, and understands like, she was hurt, and I did drop the ball. Was she over the top? Yeah, but she admitted it. But I understand, and I'm willing to take the good with the bad, and I'm not gonna lower myself, or I've been there, done that. Life's too short. So if that's the case, now there's another scenario where he's being triggered and he's fawning, literally, right? I'll mention that. I'm guessing some people might be wondering about that he's completely putting himself on the back burner to avoid being harmed or rejected. It's a pretty stark thing to say. We can't know, but I'll throw it in the mix. And but there's another possibility that that's not what's happening, and he just doesn't take things personally. We can imagine that being true. He seems to process things in a different way, and that his accommodating nature and resilient nature, or flexible nature, or non-confrontational nature might actually be legit, and that the two of them might actually be complementary in that way, that she's more reactive, less warm, and he makes up for it with his not taking things personally and bridging the gap with his effervescent emotions. You know what I mean? And from the outside, you'd be like, oh, sucks for him, or whoa, like that's not going to work or something. But, like I said, there's a lot of ways to create a happy life and a happy marriage. And so maybe that'll be the case. Who knows? But there's another possibility that he is submerging himself to retain, or he doesn't feel like he has the right or the agency, or he worries that if he did assert himself that she would run away, or, there's a lot of other possibilities. All right, well, tune in next time when I continue watching, and everyone out there, please take care of yourself because you deserve it. You really, really do.